back. Within the last month, there's been a change in the Democratic leadership in the state Senate. Melissa Agard of Madison stepped down to run for Dane County Executive. Stepping up in her place, Middleton Senator Dianne Hesselbein, who spoke with her about some of her priorities. As a quick note, we sat down before the state Supreme Court handed down its decision to throw out the state's legislative maps. But we do talk about that as a possibility. Here's the conversation. So I want to get to the sense of why you decided to step up for this leadership role here.
Oh, thanks. It's an exciting year for the Democratic Party in the state of Wisconsin. With new maps, we'll have a lot of opportunities, so exciting time to serve.
Yeah, and so I know, obviously this is your first term in the state Senate, but you were in Assembly leadership beforehand, right?
I was.
What's the difference, kind of stepping from the Assembly to the Senate and then in leadership?
There's a big difference between the Assembly and the Senate, and I think, and I've told this to people in both parties, there's a real sense of belonging in the Senate, and we have some more cordial conversations in the Senate, which is welcoming. It's really nice.
So as we're looking ahead, you're obviously picking this up post-budget and kind of this transition between 2023, 2024. What are going to be some of the priorities for the new year that we're looking at?
Well, I think for the Democratic Party, we're just going to continue talking about you know, maybe I've heard the Republicans talk about a possibility of a tax break. Certainly we might be interested in something like that, a middle-class tax break. The Republicans had a plan, but that was a tax break from everybody making $30,000 to $300,000. That's not a middle-class tax break. So hoping to have those conversations and seeing if we can get somewhere.
Yeah, what would Democrats need? Or is it too early to say yet?
Too early to say, but I think we're open to having those conversations.
We've seen a rather contentious votes with the UW Board of Regents trading that DEI for DEI positions for some much-needed building funding, those UW pay raises. We heard from the governor that he's disappointed in the Regents' votes. I'm hoping to get your take on what they did.
I was disappointed as well. Those raises were promised 6 months ago when Joint Finance Committee members voted on them. There's no reason they should have waited this long, and there's no reason that should be on the table when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion. Those three things are extremely important to every single person in the state of Wisconsin. Every corner of the state is impacted by diversity, equity, inclusion.
That was our conversation with Senator Dianne Hesselbein. We also spoke with Senator Howard Marklein. The Spring Green Republican is the co-chair of the legislature's powerful budget writing committee. We sat down after a big budget year, starting our conversation there. Over the last year, 2023 here, any big legislative wins for you?
Well, the state budget is probably the biggest. You know, I co-chaired Joint Finance Committee, and so the state budget had a lot of tremendous stuff in it. And part of that was the shared revenue package, which is actually separate legislation, but that had an incredible impact. Will have an incredible impact not only on communities in my district, but all over the state of Wisconsin. You know, when I look at the impact, you know, in my district, it's another $19 million of aid going to my cities, villages, and towns, and which is a big deal in the future. And I know my communities are very happy for that. So, then, you know, in the budget, transportation was an area of focus for me, and we did a great job in local transportation. The local agricultural road improvement program, $150 million, which is a significant contribution to the improvements of those small rural town roads, and was happy for that. And in the transportation budget, we essentially didn't borrow any money. We paid cash, or paying cash for projects. We kept everything on track, which is wonderful. So I know roads are important to many people in Wisconsin, including my district.
So obviously you've done a lot of work. Anything left on the table that you'd want to maybe tackle in the new year here?
Oh yeah, we're not done. I introduced or drafted the electrical vehicle charging bill, and we had a hearing on that recently, and I'm hopeful that we can get that through the legislative process here after the first of the year. And that bill basically will permit our private sector businesses along these major travel corridors to charge for the sale of power. And so, like for our convenience stores, our hotels, restaurants, you know, it provides them with a tremendous opportunity to sell power instead of selling, you know, gasoline at a convenience store. They'll be selling power. And so that bill enables us to capture about $78 million of federal funds to make those improvements.
So obviously you're the chair of very powerful State Budget Writing Committee. For people who don't necessarily know kind of the ins and outs, who haven't been sitting through the budget hearings and all that kind of stuff, if you could describe JFC in like 3 words, for example.
Well, it's the amount of responsibility, it's amazing. The Joint Finance Committee is responsible for not only doing the budget, but also any positions, position authority, and which is a pretty big deal. Passive reviews that come before us. These are requests made by various agencies for positions or for land acquisitions that all comes before the Joint Finance Committee as well. So it's a committee that we're busy. The members on that committee are very, very engaged. And when the session adjourns, we don't adjourn. We continue to meet and take action as appropriate.
So we also heard from the Assembly Speaker that there will be a tax cut introduced sometime in January, geared towards retirees to make it easier for them to stay here in Wisconsin. Do you have any details on that, or do you have a sense of whether they'll get a lot of support here?
We haven't seen any details at all, so I really can't comment on that. But one of the disappointments I had in the budget was that the governor vetoed the tax cut. So that's taxpayer money, and I'm certainly open to having discussions on a tax cut after the first of the year.
Broadly, as we're kind of going forward, do you have a sense of kind of what the tenor is like, the working relationship between Republicans and the legislature and the governor?
I know I think there's things we can agree on. The governor signed 3 of my bills recently. So there's things that we can get done that the governor will approve. Some things are probably non-starters, and I guess I would prefer that we try to do as much as we possibly can that we can get done and signed into law before the session adjourns.
That's Senator Howard Marklein. When we come back, a look back at 2023 and a look ahead to 2024 with our political panel. We'll be right back after this.